The NFL trade deadline came and went yesterday. Howie Roseman made no more moves. We're going to talk about whether you're okay with that or not. Whether you're okay with other teams in the NFL getting better and Howie Roseman standing pat yesterday. Only big trade was that Sixers trade. We might talk a little bit more Sixers as well. Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live with your thoughts and opinions in 30 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network, the only morning show in Philadelphia where your opinions actually matter. We're live, Facebook, YouTube. You know the drill. Hit the like, share, subscribe, follow buttons. It's free to do it. It does not cost you a thing to help us grow this morning show as we continue to try to take over the morning airwaves. So hit those buttons, likes, shares, subscribes. I am your host, Phil Stiefel. You can find me on all social media platforms at Beard of Knowledge, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, whatever. Shoot me a follow there. I greatly appreciate that as well. We got lots to talk about today. NFL trade deadline came and went. Howie Roseman stayed pat, did not make any other moves yesterday. We are going to discuss it if we are okay with it. We're going to discuss other things that went on around in the NFL, other trades, some big, some minor, a head coaching change in the NFL. And what? 8:02, not bonus. I was live at 8 o'clock. Look at it. I've been live for 2 minutes and 13 seconds, and it's 8:02. Relax. There's no bonus time. You got to pay for the bonus time. We might dive into a little bit more of the James Harden situation. Some other things have come out, the awkwardness of James Harden arriving in LA. So there's lots that we could dive into with that as well. So whatever your thoughts are, whatever your opinions are, whatever the topics are that you want to discuss today, we will dive into. Uh, Mad Chatter saying Howie Roseman let everyone down. We will get into that for sure. Great morning, Phil. Josh McDaniels has been fired. Uh, I'm gonna start right there. The Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, firing another head coach and their GM. The Raiders obviously major disappointment this year again. I can't believe Devontae Adams didn't force his way out of there. But man, the Eagles dodged the bullet. I don't know if you guys remember, but he was one of the final candidates for the Eagles head coaching job. Before we even knew the name Nick Sirianni, Brian Dabble, Josh McDaniels, all these names were coming in and interviewing. And I really thought Howie Roseman was going to hire Josh McDaniels. Not saying he was my top target, but I thought he was going to hire him because he's a well thought of person, even though he seems to fail in head coaching roles over and over again. Josh McDaniels just might be an offensive coordinator. Just imagine, Chuck, being so bad at your job that your boss says, I am going to pay you for the next 4.5 years not to come on in. That's what the Raiders are doing with Josh McDaniels. And that's insane to me. Like the way coaching things work in sports and coaching contracts are guaranteed. Whew, man, I did not have him as my first coach being fired. I did have him on a hot seat. Thought Ron Rivera would be the first guy fired. We still may see that, but we'll get into that. Please, no more Harden. I don't want to talk about James Harden per se, K1, but I do want to bring up at some point the conversation that it has come out that Daryl Morey and the GM of the Clippers did not get this job done, this deal done. That the NBA stepped in and spoke with ownership of the Clippers and Sixers to see if this was going to happen. And Josh Harris, the owner of the Sixers, is actually the one that went over Daryl Morey's head to get this deal done. To me, that's a little questionable right there. The NBA getting involved like that, but also, what does that say at Daryl Morey that Josh Harris had to go around him? It's something that's on my agenda to discuss today, tomorrow, whenever we want to dive into it. Yes, Josh McDaniels was fired. I guess it was last night while we were sleeping. For sure, we did not see it coming so quickly. I put that in his NFL chats I was in. Eagles fans got so mad at 402 yesterday. On the So here's the thing. To this point here, and we could talk about it, Howie Roseman let everyone down. I think there's a lot of people saying stuff like that. There's a lot of people saying that the Eagles and Howie Roseman stood pat at the deadline. The Eagles and Howie Roseman did not do anything to improve this team. Let's not forget 1 week ago, he traded for all pro, two-time all pro safety Kevin Byard, who already played a game with 4 days of time here. So it's not like Howie Roseman did nothing at the NFL trade deadline. He did go out and improve the safety position. And I think people are overreacting a little bit to the Eagles doing nothing at the deadline. Would I have liked to have seen Howie Roseman make more deals? Of course. Would have I liked more offensive line depth? Absolutely. Would I have liked defensive line depth? Sure. Would I've loved for them to swing for the fences with some of the trades that Washington made? Because yes, man, Chatter, Washington giving up. You know, sure. Would have loved Chase Young or Montez Sweat, especially for the prices that Chase Young went for a third round pick. Sure, I would have liked that. One of them went for like a fourth or fifth round pick, right? Like sure, I would have liked that. Would I've liked more cornerback help? Sure, but it's not like he did nothing. He did do something. He brought us an all-pro safety that is going to help our secondary more and more every week as he gets more and more comfortable in the situation. Howie has too much sense for that. My homeboy here in the Myrtle Beach area, Hunter Renfro, can finally be thrown to again. Where did Hunter Renfro end up at? Did he end up because he didn't get traded? Did he? And that's the other thing. Some of these players are going to get cut too, as well. So some of the guys that didn't get traded will. So if he didn't get traded, maybe he will. Uh, Bean could not get Sertan. Yeah, Patrick Sertan. There's very unlikely that Sertan was getting traded. Yeah, and Johnson, the cornerback from the Bears. Some of these guys, when you're 24 years old and you're an elite player at your position, very hard to get a fair return on that. So it's very hard. Everyone does love Howie. And, honestly, someone brought something up. I want to compare Howie Roseman to Daryl Morey in a second here. The owner has to go around Morey. That's nuts. Yes, that news came out late yesterday. I saw it last night after I got home, and I was paging through Twitter to see what I missed. The conversation that Josh Harris went around because the NBA officials, Adam Silver, wanted to see if this was really something to happen because they don't want this distraction happening. So then once the NBA got involved and the owners got involved, and they got a deal done because this was a deal that was on the table. I thought Bayard was a huge move. Getting Kevin Bayard was a huge move. Yet so many people think Howie Roseman just stand pat. He actually did make a major, major move. So I'm going to still give Howie Roseman the benefit of the doubt on that one. You can't do anything right in this city. Marshawn, some people always want more. You can't. You, they want, they get, and then they want more. Like you give them a little carrot, they want a second carrot. It says take one piece of candy from the basket on Halloween. Every kid takes two. It's not just in this city; it's everywhere. They just want more. Phil is correct. Whoa, shoot. What day is it today? K1 saying I'm right on something? Wow. I was just trolling. You're trolling. You're always trolling. K1, I've been upset at you since Sunday. That's funny. Chase Young recorded 0 across the board last game against Jordan Mailata, who has been inconsistent this year. Yeah, I mean, Jordan Mailata inconsistent this year. It's so funny, Marshawn, that you say that because I always say you take the PFF grades with a grain of salt. You use them when they help your argument, but you can use them when you're against. I think he's been inconsistent too this year, um, but yet he is the highest graded left tackle in the NFL right now through 8 weeks, which just goes to show that we see things differently than the PFF grades see them or grade them. It's kind of funny how PFF, it's such a big site, such a well-regarded site. Yet some of their numbers, man, they just don't work sometimes. Isn't Sweat and Reddick good enough at edge? They absolutely are. Um, but you always could use more. In this league, in a passing league, you always want more. You always want more edge rushers. You always want more pass rushers. Myrtle Beach Hunter, they call him. Do they? I wouldn't have known that. Brandon Bean spent a third from some quarterback. Bears are weird. They should have been sellers, and they spent I agree with you, Marshawn. It was weird, and they were buyers and sellers. They were trying to sell their cornerback, but they were buying a defense end. They got a load of cap space, so Montez Sweat they should have no problem re-signing, and they do have a lot of top 3 round draft picks, so they had the assets to trade for them. But you're selling. You don't know what you're doing with your quarterback situation. You got all this cap space. Why bring in a player like that? Like it was really confusing. Unless they find a way. And if you're Montez Sweat, you're either playing under the franchise tag next year or sign a long-term deal in Chicago. Do you really want to be in Chicago when you're a free agent? And you're like, yeah, it was crazy how that went down. It was Bill's chat. Everyone agreed in there. Obviously, Howie best. Look, the Bills did make a trade. They brought in former Eagle Rasul Douglas. It's funny, all the teams that are facing the Eagles in coming weeks, the 49ers and the Bills, making moves to improve their defense before they get to have to play Philadelphia. So that was interesting. I was disappointed league wide with about the lack of action. Yeah, I mean, look, the NFL trade deadline has gotten a little bit more exciting over the years since they pushed it back to week 8, week 9. When it was week 3, it was never exciting at all. But the NFL trade deadline is never going to be what the NBA or Major League Baseball trade deadlines are, like super active. Maybe the NFL should consider pushing the NFL trade deadline back even further, maybe week 10, 11, so we really know who truly is sellers and who are really truly buyers. Because at this point, some teams are still 3-5, 4-4. Are they buyers? Are they sellers? Look, the Raiders are 3-5, and there was some hype for that team, and they fired their coach already. Like you just don't know where these teams are. The Washington, didn't know where they made their decisions based off of how Week 8's game against the Eagles went. Otherwise, they might have kept Montez Sweat and Chase Young if they won that game. It's really confusing time of the year for the NFL trade deadline, and I think that is why very often there isn't a lot of action. You look at Minnesota needed a quarterback with Kirk Cousins down for the year, and I'm going to give him credit, Kirk Cousins. I crush him all the time. But he tore his Achilles, and the next day he's out there. There was a prearranged autograph signing at the stadium for fans, and he was there in his scooter with his leg, braced up, still signing autographs the day after he blew his Achilles out. Mad props to Kirk Cousins, the man, for being a stand-up guy and not letting the kids and the fans down that were there to meet him. I agree, Phil. Some people wanted 2 first-round picks for a disgruntled player. Wait. Yeah, exactly. I get what you're getting at there. Josh Sweat has almost identical numbers than Micah, but he doesn't get all the praise or any of the praise for that matter. For sure. I don't know if Josh Sweat gets enough praise here in Philadelphia, Marshawn. He doesn't. And people have been saying like this year was going to be his breakout year. Well, he's already had breakout years. In my opinion, he's already been an elite pass rusher. But still, you can't ever have too many pass rushers. Honestly, at this point of the season, you always need more. Why is Rivera still high? I'm shocked that Ron Rivera. I mean, Washington is clearly cleaning house. The rumors have already come out that Josh Harris is going to clean house and start with new owner or new manager, new GM, a new direction with this team. They got a young quarterback that may or may not be the guy. They obviously traded 2 of their stud ends. They have 2 of their other guys, like their other 2 linemen, have been locked up long term already. So Ron Rivera might have been fired yesterday if it wasn't for the fact that Josh Harris was busy settling the James Harden situation. If he wasn't busy with that, it might have happened, and it might still happen pretty soon. I did read a report that Ron Rivera is basically just a figurehead and Eric Bieniemy in the locker room and in the game plan is actually technically the de facto head coach. He's like the underboss. He's the acting. Junior Soprano is the figurehead boss in The Sopranos, but really Tony Soprano ran the show. That's what's going on in DC right now, from what I am reading. Man Chatter agrees. Push back the deadline. If you pushed it back to week 10 or 11, you still got enough weeks with an 18 week, 17 game season to really get these new players integrated, and it gives you more time to find out if you're a buyer or a seller. If you're 3-7, you're more likely to be a seller than if you're 3-4. So, yeah. Why is Elton Brand still employed by the Sixers? I don't know. Is Elton Brand? He's just Daryl Morey's coffee boy. But you're going to see possibly, and this is, and I know we don't want to talk Sixers too much, but something that really concerns me, bothers me, worries me is that Josh Harris had to go over Daryl Morey's head to make this James Harden deal official and get it done with. But yet you're still employing Daryl Morey and Elton Brand, and now they have these 2 first-round picks that they could trade for another player. I don't know if I trust Daryl Morey making that decision. So it's something that worries me. It's something that bothers me. It's something that concerns me. It's something that I don't want Daryl Morey making those decisions unless he gets a benefit of the doubt from Josh Harris that his job's secure for the next 2, 3 years, which it wouldn't be if I was in charge. But that's another whole subject. Too many crap teams with GMs not getting picks. Josh Harris is processing the Washington Commanders. They'll get a top pick for the next 5 years before they finally get to the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised if they're going to trade those guys that they trade at Washington, and they're going to go into a rebuild mode to an extent, bring in a new coach and GM and whatever they're going to do this offseason, that they didn't try to move more pieces like Terry McLaurin or, you know, Antonio Gibson or Logan Thomas. I'm surprised they didn't move some more pieces on the offense, too. I know you want to keep Sam Howell, with something to throw to and stuff, but I'm surprised more moves didn't happen. And if Josh Harris wasn't busy, they might have. They might have made more moves. Micah, I believe, has 6.5 sacks, and Josh Sweat, yeah, it's 6 to 5.5 for both Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick. So they're a half a sack behind. I saw a stat yesterday. Somebody posted a graphic comparing Micah's stats this year to I think it was Hassan Reddick's, and Josh Sweat's right there too. Their numbers are exactly the same at this point. So yeah, but Rivera is the GM as well as Ron Rivera makes the personnel decisions in Washington too. Look, I don't know enough about Washington to know that if that's accurate. Well, that might be their problem right there. If the owners can squeeze any money out of it, a trade deadline date change is inevitable. Chuck, first off, I think it's inevitable. Period. Based off of the conversation we're having here so far today, but also a conversation we've had a couple times now over the last couple weeks of the NFL eventually probably putting in an 18th game, maybe even a second bye, so it might become a 20-week season. Um, if you're going to extend it to 18 games, then you definitely have to push it back immediately. But yeah, like a week 11, I would say a week 11 where every team's played at least 10 games, some 11. I think that would be a good number. So basically, push it back 2 more weeks. And I think you would see a little bit more action. But I don't think the NFL trade deadline will ever get to the level of excitement that the NBA trade deadline or the MLB trade deadline gets to. You're not going to see, 10, 15, 20 trades coming in the last hour because it's just a different league. It's a different way of doing business and the salary. There's so much that goes into it that I don't think you'll ever see it be that exciting. Not defending Josh Harris, but I have to believe the league wanted this resolved. I said this yesterday, and I said this to a lot of people. They did not want this going on with this new. I called it. I was listening back on yesterday's show a little bit, and I called it a play-in tournament yesterday. The new in-season tournament. They wanted no distractions for this big in-season tournament that they're making such an unnecessarily big deal about. But again, the league stepping into the Sixers matters. Maybe it's because I don't listen to sports talk in other cities. But does the NBA step in on other teams across the league as much as they do with the Sixers? It's kind of frustrating to an extent that they step in so frequently. Like, why do they worry about our business so much and nobody else? They don't step in LeBron James situations. They didn't step in Kyrie Irving situations when he was being Kyrie Irving. They don't step in anywhere else around the league. But yet they're always putting their nose in our business. Hassan Reddick is having a better statistical year through 8 weeks this year than last season. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he went the beginning of the year last year with no sacks as well. He's playing the run. I don't know if you've noticed it, Marshawn, but he's definitely in the backfield on running plays. He's had a couple big tackles for loss. He had 2 tackles for loss last week and no sacks. So he's getting into the backfield. He's getting the pressure. The only thing that our front four isn't doing is actually getting home on the quarterback regularly. They're getting stuck. They're getting almost sacks and whatnot, as we've talked about. Son Reddick's having a very, very damn good year. It'll be interesting to see what they do with his contract after the season. NBA trade deadline is the gold standard, and I'm not sure why it is such a big deal. I promise someday to not need to honk the horn during shows. It's so hard to make an NBA trade work because you got to go contract for contract. You got to go dollar for dollar. It's not like in the NFL, you could just trade a player for a future draft pick. In the Major League Baseball, you can trade a player for a minor leaguer making half the money. But in the NBA, you got to match salaries. And yet it's still the most exciting trade deadline of all the sports. It's the most complicated, but also the most active. So it's kind of interesting the way that that shakes out. Stupid idiot Goodell should encourage GM to make at least one trade, make it a bigger event. You can't force teams to make trades. You can't do well. I mean, obviously the league did that with the Sixers, but you get what I'm saying. Reddick is hungry. He is, and Reddick knows that he's underpaid by league standards. And Hassan Reddick's having a great season because he knows at the end of this year he's up for a renegotiation, potentially an extension of his contract. It'll be curious to see how it shakes out at the end of the season, for sure. I don't know how it will, but I'm sure something will change at the end of the season. It's crazy how the Thunder could get away with all these picks, but say, well, I don't know if you've been part of the shows, Marshawn, when I've done it. I've discussed this countless times on this show over the last year or two. The Thunder did not give it a cute marketing nickname. The Sixers gave it the nickname of the process, and that's why the Sixers didn't get away with it because they monetized tanking. Oklahoma City Thunder did it. It's okay because they didn't monetize it. That's the only thing there, Marshawn. That's the difference. They stepped in and blocked CP3. That's true, Keith. Great point. They did. The NBA commissioners have always been active. I totally forgot about that. CP3 to and Kobe and the Lakers. That was a little. That was a while ago. Totally forgot about that one. So good catch there on my mistake there. That was a double honker. It was. I had one honker, and then I'm like, I better finish it all off right now. Is Furkan Korkmaz the most untradeable player in sports history? Dude, the dude wants to play basketball, and he can't get traded to a team that'll play him. The Sixers don't want to move him for some random reason, and nobody wants him from the Sixers. I don't know. Brand was the Sixers G League GM before the Sixers offered him the position after Colangelo left. For an ex-player learning to work from front office position, he's doing fine. He traded for Butler. Yes, he has done good. He's part of the team that you know his draft his draft scouting decision making. Because let's be honest, we've done some pretty solid things drafting over the years. Springer, Maxey, going back Matisse Thybulle. He was responsible for a lot of those guys. Other guys that are still playing in the league, maybe not stars, but later first round pick, early second round picks like Landry Shamet. He was a part of that draft. TLC, I don't know if TLC is still in the league or not, but he's done some good things, and he part of the draft class of Furkan Korkmaz too. The NBA were the acting Pelicans owners at the time of the Chris Paul trade. Yeah, it was really weird that the NBA were acting owners of a team. Um, how do we get stuck? We're trying to have an Eagles conversation here, and we got stuck on the NBA again. Elton Brand is greater than Elton John. Oh, that's a 5-minute timeout for K1. Um, I don't have any problem with Elton Brand. To an extent, I feel bad for Elton Brand that he's stuck behind Daryl Morey because Daryl Morey is technically not the GM. He's the president of basketball operations, so he's not technically the guy in charge of making these decisions. He just makes all the decisions, and that he goes over Brand's head on every single decision. He also let Butler walk and used that money to pay Al Horford when Brogdon cost a lot less money. I love the way you phrased this, Marshawn, um, because you said he let Butler walk and use that money on Al Horford. Because most people say he let Butler walk and use that money on Tobias Harris, which is not the case. He could have brought back Butler and Harris, and he lost Butler, so he had no choice on Harris, and then he tried to fill the Butler void with Horford. So I love the way you phrased this right here because you're spot on. He didn't make up for the Butler mistake with Harris, and everyone always gives Tobias Harris so much crap because of his contract and because of the way it all shook out with Jimmy Butler. But Tobias Harris was going to stay here no matter what because you actually traded more assets for Tobias Harris than Jimmy Butler. Picks, players, whatever it was. So I love the way you phrase this. This right here, I, I, I love it. I'm very happy that you put that out there. But back to the Eagles. Back to the Eagles not being, as active on the deadline day as other teams were. And there's something here. First, and like I said at the start of the show, it's not like Howie Roseman made no moves. Howie Roseman went out and got Kevin Byard, a two-time All-Pro safety, who we found out this week or earlier this week that they restructured his deal a little bit, so they got a little bit more cap space, and he is here officially through next year as well. It was a big deal, that move, but it's not like we saw Montez Sweat and Chase Young get traded, and Washington would have never traded them in the division to the Eagles, no matter what, unless they way overpaid for them. But outside of them, it's not like other big names. It's not like this star cornerback that we wanted from wherever, or this star guy got from another team to another position got traded. It's not like the Dallas Cowboys went out and got better. The 49ers got marginally better. But outside of that, none of the teams that we have to face in the playoffs or the rest of the season, it's not like these big names. Patrick Surtain didn't get traded, and we're like, oh, man, we could have done better than that offer. It's not like Johnson, the cornerback from the Bears, got traded. We're like, we could have beaten that offer. It's not like a stud wide receiver got traded, and we're like, we could have beat that offer. And that's the thing. It's not like these big names were getting moving and Howie went quiet. Nobody got traded. The only big names that got traded were the two big linemen from Washington, and they were never coming to Philly. Washington would have never done that deal. So I think that Howie Roseman you got to grade his trade deadline decisions pretty highly because of the Kevin Byard trade. They were going to pay Tobias Harris regardless. We can argue Butler didn't want to be here. Yeah, exactly. To use that money was crazy. Even Al Horford was surprised that Allen paid him a lot. Yeah, exactly. Harris was staying no matter what. And Butler didn't want to be here because of Brett Brown and because of Ben Simmons. We've discussed. I'm over discussing the Jimmy Butler saga. I'd rather talk about Jimmy Butler's hair than anything else. And shout out to Shaq for his Halloween costume. Going with the Butler hair, love it. Love it. I might have to go. Maybe I could get a wig and that could be my Halloween costume on Saturday night for a party I got to go to. I got the Butler jersey right there anyway. Elton Brand didn't let Butler leave. Jimmy Butler never wanted to be in Philly. No NBA stars want to play in Philly except for Embiid. I'm not going to say no stars want to play in Philly. That I think is pushing it a little bit. The ones that have been available at the right moments, and I think Jimmy Butler wanted to be here. He wanted to be here without Ben Simmons and Brett Brown, and Elton Brand chose Brett Brown and Ben Simmons over Jimmy Butler. Hindsight's 2020. It was the wrong decision, for sure. Phil, and chat. What can I expect out of Rasul cornerback guy? Yeah. So what can you expect out of Rasul Douglas, the cornerback you guys traded for? He's an okay cornerback. Basically, I love this. He's basically slightly better than Jalen Mills. Who's Jalen Mills playing for right now, K1? Is he still with the Patriots? I don't even know. But yeah, Rasul Douglas is a guy, he's going to get burned sometimes. He's an aggressive ball hawk type cornerback. He's not as great as the elite cornerbacks. So he makes some good picks. I think that there was one season in Green Bay after he left Philly, he had like 7 interceptions or something like that. So he's a good cornerback. He's going to get beat sometimes, and he's going to make big plays. It's a boom or bust every play with him. And he's getting older. I don't know what your quarterback situation's like. I don't know if he's going to be starting immediately. But, he's a good player. He's not a great player. He's not a bad player. He's not going to be, he's not going to be the difference making, taking you from a wild card to the Super Bowl. That's the thing with him. Yeah, he's allergic to double moves for sure. Just like the Green Goblin. Look, I was an anti-Green Goblin guy. I was not a Jalen Mills supporter here. But it is what it is. So yeah, I mean, Rasul Douglas, you could have, if you needed cornerback help, you got it. But I can't also say that he's going to make the difference, on a playoff run or anything like that. Right now, come on, guys. Let's make sure we hit that like button and share button. We're up to 10 likes on YouTube, 2 on Facebook. About 20 people watching live in the chats right now. So drop your comments on the Eagles. And some other things that I wanted to talk about yesterday, then the James Harden situation, shook out. So we spent a lot of time yesterday is the line situation of the Eagles. And we did not make a move. I know I said a lot that offensive line help was something I wanted to see the Eagles made. And there was a guard trade at the deadline yesterday. Was it the Vikings traded somebody? I don't know. There was an offensive guard, a right guard that was traded for a second day draft pick or something like that. He was a second rounder, traded for a fifth. That could have helped provide some depth on our offensive line. But it seems like Cam Jurgens is going to be back this week. And I think that is a massive, massive. It's almost like a trade deadline acquisition when you're getting someone like Cam Jurgens back at the right at the trade deadline. And we've been over it that the Eagles' rushing attack has seen a significant drop and downward tick since Cam Jurgens has gone down. Now, I'm happy with that he's coming back. But I still think there is offensive line issue there because he's coming back from an injury. We don't know if he's going to get injured again or not. Lane Johnson's missed time already as well. And I don't want to see the Sua Peta. So what I want to see now that Cam Jurgens is back, those backup right guard minutes at practice going to Tyler Steen. Because again, we spoke about it briefly this week. Those 6 plays that Tyler Steen played when Sua Peta came out at the end of the first half on Sunday showed that he is more than capable in a very small sample size, more than capable of holding his own. And I really want to see more Tyler Steen in that backup role. More concerned. I'll get to that. Let me catch up on comments, Marshall. I see your question. Elam, our first round bust is benched. Can't give him away. Josh Harris picked Simmons and Brown over Jimmy. Brand wanted to trade Simmons early. Harris vetoed it. Okay, that might be accurate, Keith, as well. Um, Keith, keeping me in check all the time. When random things pop into my head and I say them and they're wrong. Look, everybody was wrong. Well, not everybody. I should say everybody in the Sixers organization was wrong on Ben Simmons and Brett Brown. There's no doubt about it. Who knows what the Sixers organization would have been like that after that 19 season if we moved on from Brett Brown and Ben Simmons and kept Jimmy Butler. Who knows? Or if we just ran it, if we convinced Jimmy Butler to stay and I still firmly believe that if we just ran back that team, we win the title the next year with Redick, Butler, all the pieces. I think we win the title the next year. Trey White 2 games and IR for year after year. Okay, we don't need too much details on the Bills. More concerned with Carter and Davis 23 injuries. Yes, yes, and this is why I put defensive line so high on my priority list at the trade deadline. Now I don't know if they have intention to bring back the Dominican Sue or Linville Joseph or another player like them. You got rid of a part of your rotation on that defensive line in Catavia Street, who he played like 8, 10 snaps a game. He's not an inside guy; he's more of an outside guy. But still, you took away from that line rotation. Jalen Carter should be okay, is what they're saying out of the NovaCare complex. That he seemed to be, you know, trending in the right direction for Dallas week. And Jordan Davis has been banged up a lot already this year and last year. So yes, I am concerned like you, but the Eagles making no moves tells me they have a plan. Whether it's bringing in somebody or whether it's, you know, that they're not as concerned with the injuries as we seem to be. That to me tell that the lack of moves tell me sometimes more than what we realize. Yeah, Rasul is no replacement for White. Yeah, exactly. But he's a good player, bro. We have Moro. Do I say it right? Moro Ojomo. Is that Ojomo? Um, yeah, you might see a little bit more of Moro Ojomo now. I guess they seem to be very high on this guy until I see it on the field more consistently or see him get more minutes. I don't know if I'm ready, or I have no proof of what good or bad from him outside of training camp, and I don't buy the training camp hype. This is all Reddick's fault. Up 1, and he gets a wide open 3 in game 4, and he bricks it. Could have gone up 3 run. I've never heard anybody blame JJ Redick for it. As I'm reading your comment, I read it. I don't pre-read these comments. I don't pre-screen them. I put it up, and we're back to Eagles for a second, and I see this is all Reddick's fault. I'm like, what is Marshawn blaming on Hassan Reddick? And I'm like, I read the rest of the comment. I'm like, we're talking JJ Reddick here. I gotcha. I'm a fan of the game. I know every team reasonably well. You can humor me. Look, I don't know the Bills well enough, man. Chatter, I don't. Um, we all love you, man. Chatter. One of the original Core 12. I'm not too concerned about Hurts. I believe he will play Sunday. Same with Carter. Hurts. Yeah, Hurts is definitely playing on Sunday. I don't. I don't think we have any worries about Jalen Hurts playing on Sunday. I know the knee is banged up, but yeah, he's playing on Sunday. Um, Jalen Carter will play on Sunday, most likely. It seems like Jordan Davis probably will as well. Look, you'll see a lot of the banged up guys play on Sunday if they can go because it's the game before the bye. Then we're on bye next week, and whatever nicks and bangs and bumps and bruises they got, they can rest up on their bye week. It's great to have a bye week later in the season for a team like this. So yeah, they'll use the bye week to get healthy, but it'll be all hands on deck for Dallas because it is Dallas week, guys. We barely dove into Dallas week, and I was thinking about the Halloween game in 1993, Eagles Dallas, because that was a Dallas week. It was on Halloween. Emmett Smith rushed for like 230 yards against us. Pouring rain. Ken O'Brien was the quarterback of the Eagles. Heath Sherman was the leading rusher on that team. And former Buffalo Bills man chatter, James Lofton, was the leading receiver of the Eagles in that game. And we just got smoked in that game. It was terrible. But that was a little Halloween. I forgot to bring it up yesterday on the show because we got so James Harden centric. But a little Halloween Eagles Dallas memory right there. Ojomo is getting snaps. The Birds need roster spots for players coming off IR. They do, and that's why you saw them trade Catavia Street because you need roster spots for sure, no doubt about it. Because you need a roster spot for Cam Jurgens. You need a roster spot eventually for Julio Jones because I believe this will be the third week, and the last week you can elevate Julio Jones. So there's another, you know, spot that needs to be opened up. So Street it opens up Cam Jurgens. They still got to open up another spot for Julio. So it'll be interesting to see how the roster shakes out over the next couple of weeks. Calcaterra went on IR. We might see Aqua. I made a tweet about it and no one understood. I'm like, we might see Aqua Bowman hashtag Core 12. Only ones that'll get it on Twitter. Um, Grant Calcaterra will probably go on IR. Came out that he got a concussion in the last game. And supposedly Grant Calcaterra has a major concussion history from college and before college that he's missed significant time of his career before he got to the pros with concussions. So we might actually see Aqua Bowman, but Calcaterra's been averaging 1 to 4 snaps a game. Aqua Bowman might be on the field for Dallas week. You might finally see it. We'll all get our wish. We'll have to see what the anytime touchdown number is on Aqua Bowman for Sunday. I'm just worried on how the defense coordinator calls the game. You can't defenses that gives up the underneath all game. You can't defend the defenses that give up. I think that's what you are trying to say. Drew, I'm going to disagree with you because we've been giving up the underneath all year, and it's the bend don't break style of defense. It's the way the NFL is going. If your cornerbacks aren't quick enough to keep up with the quick wide receivers, you got to play off. You got to let them stay in front. We beat the Dolphins by playing soft defense on Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, not letting them get over the top. Tyreek Hill had 10 catches, but less than 100 yards. So I think we all get upset far too often on the playing off the line of scrimmage from the cornerbacks. I really do, including me, because I've complained about it. I've complained about sticks defense, and giving up the underneath game, two totally different things. On 3rd and 16, I don't want to see my cornerbacks playing 18 yards off, but giving them 5-7 yards of space at the line, um, it's kind of like a new way of doing things in the NFL because the wide receivers are faster and faster, and you got to be able to keep them in front of you. Let the let the field shorten up in the red zone or in the 30-yard line, make it a little easier for your defense. Let them get into the red zone. Let them kick field goals while you're scoring touchdowns, and you win football games. So I cannot criticize. We can criticize little details about the defense, but we're 7-1 at this point, so it's very hard to criticize whatever defense is being used by Sean Desai because outside of last week, there were some things I didn't like from Sean Desai last week. Uh, but I'm game to continue to give it time because it's working with the final results. It's going to be a great game. Eagles Dallas. Talk about show. I feel like we haven't had a stress free week yet, and it's going to have to. We're going to have to wait till the bye for a stress free week for football because there's no way that if Washington doesn't give us a stress free week, there's no way Dallas is going to give us a stress free week. We know it's going to be a tough game. 4:25 prime time. Dallas in Philly. November. I don't know what's the weather going to be like. I have the game cast up. Maybe it'll say here on here. It is going to be 58 and mostly sunny. So by the time the sun sets, and the temperature is gonna drop, so it'll be cooler. It's gonna be a tough. It's gonna be a fun, tough game, cold game. I love it. Who doesn't love Eagles Cowboys in November? It's great. Defense is gonna show up. I hope so. Look, Dallas has got a tough team. We might criticize them. We might criticize Jerry Jones. We might criticize Mike McCarthy. We might criticize all of them. But Dak Prescott is still a very capable quarterback. We've seen him do it. CeeDee Lamb, there's Dallas people saying that CeeDee Lamb is having a better season than AJ Brown. They're insane by saying that. I don't think we've given enough credit to how great AJ Brown has been this year. But CeeDee Lamb is still a great top 10 cornerback in the NFL, or wide receiver in the NFL. They have a good defense. Micah Parsons still has to be stopped. So, it's going to be a hard fought game. This game is not primetime. It's the 4:25 game of the week on Fox. Just so you know, so that's what time it is. Eagles should be primetime going forward. Yeah, I mean, there's a bad Sunday night, Monday night football games coming up. Yeah, AJ Brown 125 yards again. Would it be 7 weeks in a row? Wow. Um, but I will say, I don't think we're giving, somebody, my man Carter from Kata Media, Kata Hot, him on TikTok sent me a DM the other day. Is it an understatement or an overreaction to say AJ Brown's better than T.O.? I'm like, it's definitely not an understatement or an overreaction to say he's better than T.O.'s Eagles career already. I mean, I think the league and the world is, hyping up this 6 games, 125 yards, but I don't think they're hyping it up enough. Like AJ Brown is the third favorite to win Offensive Player of the Year in the NFL right now. I think he's 10-1, third best odds. Uh, you know, he might be having the best season of the last couple of years of wide receivers. I mean, it's insane how good of a season he is having, and I don't think we give it enough credit. This Eagles Cowboys so great. Please own them. We're going to try our best. I'm going to be out in the field trying my best. I'm going to be loud on my couch. Cowboys can't run. They have one legit wide receiver. We will crush them. I love the confidence, K1. I'm not ready for predictions. We're still 2 days away from predictions and stuff and conversations here. But I, if we're not going to crush Washington Commanders, we're not crushing the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys are still a good team. They are. They're not a great team, but they're still a really good team. Stop stressing. I can't. Dude, always stressing. That's what we do. We do it. Desai is part of the Fangio tree, so giving up that underneath is part of the game plan. We had the same thing under Gad, and we already knew that this defense would be similar to last year. Duck spot on. I think too many people forget about Desai's, where he comes from and what his philosophies are. You know, we get after the quarterback great, but he doesn't dial up as many blitzes as people think. Maybe more than Gannon, but not as many as he thinks. Desai's, greatness comes from his ability to make adjustments at halftime. He didn't do it last week against Washington, but over the course of the season, for the most part, he's done a fantastic job making adjustments at the half. And that's why we've seen so many times, even last week. I know we gave up 14 fourth quarter points, but one of those touchdowns was less than a minute and a half left in the game. Garbage time. We basically let them score there. Not let them score, but we didn't play hard-nosed defense. The game was already over. So we basically gave up 7 second-half points last week. So again, even though he didn't do a great job, he still did a good enough job to, shut the defense down. We've seen so many times this year that the second half has given up 7 or less. The defense has given up 7 or less points in the second half. So I think we need to give Showing the side plenty of credit, plenty of leeway here. Buddies with a guy with no hesitation saying it's Eagles' best wide receiver duo ever. I don't know about ever. I would have to do a deep thought process on ever. But man, Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, it's a great duo, man. It's great. When when I watched this week, I said, "Dang, cheat code, dude!" That one-handed catch that AJ Brown made in the end zone for the touchdown. I know I already said it this week, but I'll say it again. I have no idea how he caught it. Like, I thought the instant replay was going to show that he was out or he bobbled it or that it was super close. Dude, he had room to spare. Like, it was like one of the most perfect throws I've ever seen. We always see the segment on ESPN, you got mossed. Well, I don't think he mossed the cornerback on that play, AJ Brown, but I think that deserves his own the one-handed catch segment. That one-handed catch should be talked about in the same breath as Odell Beckham's one big one-handed catch that he made. And he's still living off that, that hype. And he hasn't lived up to that hype since then, OBJ. But I think it was that difficult and that amazing to catch it. And I don't think we realize it. Sam Howell made plays. The Eagles D assumes that the offense will eventually make mistakes. 2 drop passes, a few missed throws, and the interception proved them right. Yeah. Look, I mean, we're a couple of those drops, Keith, from that we having a totally different week. It was a third or fourth down late in the fourth quarter, and Terry McLaurin had a big drop over the middle that would have been a first down. And it wasn't a perfect throw, but it was a drop and a mistake. And, great teams don't make those mistakes. Good teams or bad teams do. So it is what it is. We got out of there with a win. A win's a win in the end in the NFL. And here we are facing Dallas week, and we're 7-1 going to week 9. Which reminds me, I haven't done power rankings yet. Let me get caught up on the comments, and I did late last night put out my power rankings for this week. Guess who's number 1? Our Philadelphia Eagles. I would have to review the old film. T.O. could wrestle the ball, perfect body type, but I can't think of it. Look, T.O.'s body type is similar to A.J. Brown. They're both big body, strong receivers. A.J. Brown wrestles the ball. Perfect body type, speed. Like, they are literally, eerily similar, T.O. and A.J. Brown. T.O. had a lot more drama and baggage with him than A.J. Brown, though. And that's what separates them, I guess, as a receiver. A.J. Brown never played with a great quarterback in Tennessee. He's showing out with Hurts. Absolutely. I mean, look, Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee, I mean, I feel he gets a bad rap because people expect him to be better than he is. He was never going to be great, but he was early in his career. He was a pretty athletic guy. I mean, people forget that Ryan Tannehill didn't start playing quarterback till his junior year of college. So he was kind of learning on the fly, even in the NFL to an extent. So, yeah, but he was never going to be great. So, but he was solid and average. And Tennessee focused on the run game a lot with Derrick Henry. So that took away from A.J. Brown a little as well. I wouldn't sleep, but Philly will show up, fix the turnover and red zone issues, and we're going to be. If they fix the red zone issues and play calling, they fix the turnovers, Davon. This Eagles team might be unstoppable, like literally unstoppable if they fix. Hell, even the red zone issues don't concern me as much as the turnovers, because the turnover issue. Tell me a team that's had this many turnovers in a season from their quarterback alone. Take the running back fumbles out of the equation. Tell me a team that has a quarterback that's got 7 or 8 interceptions, multiple fumbles through 8 weeks of the season, and is 7-1. Like, it's hard to imagine. It just goes to show the grit and the determination and the never losing focus that this Eagles team has, that even when they make mistakes, it's not a domino effect. It's not like quicksand. There's a replacements reference for you there. You make one mistake and then you start sinking, and then you try to struggle to sink, get out of the quicksand, and you keep sinking harder and harder and making more and more mistakes. Like, find me a team in the history of the NFL that's had this many turnovers from their quarterback and that's been 7-1. It's insane. So they clean up the turnover turnover issue. They might be unfreaking stoppable. And I'm not going to lie on that one. I think Desai made adjustments, but Bieniemy made better in game. That could be part of it too. Look, let's give Eric Bieniemy credit. I mean, the de facto head coach in Washington, the soon-to-be interim head coach in Washington. He was held back in KC. I think there's some personal things there also with Bieniemy that kept him from being a head coach in the NFL. But he's getting his shot to shine and prove that it wasn't just Patrick Mahomes. A bad Washington team with a questionable quarterback, a really good wide receiver, but a questionable quarterback, and they're moving the football. They're not winning games, but they're moving the football. So I'll give him credit too. Most of the passing yards given up was underneath anyway. Exactly, and I'm okay with it. It's a bend don't break style. Make the big plays when necessary. Hassan Reddick, big sack at the end of the game when necessary. I saw somebody post something. I don't even remember what the stat was, but Hassan Reddick is the number one defensive lineman or edge rusher or whatever in the NFL in the final 2 minutes of football games. And he's the highest graded edge or whatever in that stretch. And that's pretty awesome. Um, Only thing that hurt my heart is that Jets game hurts us. Yeah, I mean, I'm still not over it. Um, but yeah, absolutely. Power rankings. Let's go. All right, let me clear up these last couple comments, and we will get to the power rankings. Eagles are definitely number one in them. Was any doubt when that would happen? I agree. It's a big issue, but we still focus on what matters: the win. Exactly. But will there bees with the quick? Will there bees with the quicksand? Is there bees in quicksand? I don't know. I was in quicksand once, and it sucked. Just so you know, a long story that I don't even know if I could get into it. Dak will come through for us when it matters. Yes, Dak will come through. All right, NFL Power Rankings, Week 9. Share screen. Let me present. Share screen. Which one is it? There we go. There are my NFL Power Rankings, Week 9 edition. And is there any doubt whatsoever that the Philadelphia Eagles would be number one? No, there is not. I put the Dolphins at number 2, even though we beat them. And of all the 2 lost teams, I had to bump the Chiefs down because of their loss. Losing to the Broncos is a travesty, so I bumped them down to 4. The Jaguars are now 5 wins or 6 wins in a row. I forget, whatever it is. I was criticizing them after week 1 and 2 for them being not who we thought they are. But since then, they're playing fantastic football. One of the best and hottest teams in the league. So I got the Jaguars at 3, Chiefs at 4, Ravens at 5. I just don't. I wanted to put the Lions there, but the Ravens crushed them so badly that I put them above them. But the Ravens still are like an enigma to me. Like I don't know what they are. Are they good or not? Because they lose games they shouldn't. They crush teams they shouldn't. Like I don't know what the Ravens are. So Lions at 6, Seattle at 7. Seattle's sneakily, quietly a really good football team. They really are. Dallas at 8. I only did that just to piss off 49ers fans because I could have put the 49ers at 8 and I didn't. I bumped the Bills back into the top 10, and the Bengals making their first appearance since like the week 1 and week 2. Bengals are another team like the Jaguars they're hitting their groove. The Bengals are going to make the playoffs. So this is where I'm at with the power rankings right now. The questionable decisions on this would be putting the Chiefs all the way down to 4 and keeping the 49ers off this list. They would be the question. But if you put the 49ers on this list, that would mean you have to take the Bengals off. Can't do that because they're too hot right now. And the Chiefs, I could put the Chiefs. You can flip flop the Chiefs, Dolphins, and Jags. You could put 2, 3, and 4 in any order, and I think that it would be okay. I think I could get behind any order for 2, 3, 4. All right, let's see what we got here. Looks solid. Thank you. I'm glad that somebody agrees. The Eagles' area of opportunity is cornerback corp, but if D coordinator good. Dolphins are 2. I'm there. You can't see it on the screen. Who's 3? It's the Jaguars. 3. After the Eagles got robbed in the Super Bowl by the sod father, we deserve to smash the NFL this season, and we are. We are. Phil, high on the Jaguars. It is. It's the Jaguars. Working on my enunciation, trying to make sure I enunciate every single word that I say on the show. Jags bolster the line. Yup. Top 5. What does it say? Top 5 now. Ravens. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Davon saying it's gonna be a Philly and Miami Super Bowl. Manifest it. I don't know if I want to play the Dolphins again. They're such a good team. But we could be trending that way. I still got to put the Chiefs, big picture come playoff time, probably are the team that gets to the Super Bowl. I would have to say, in my mind, till proven otherwise, the Chiefs are it. And even if they're proven to not get there this year, they'll be a favorite to get there again next year. But I think the Dolphins and I think the Jaguars as well. Um, I think the Jaguars as well have a shot. I do. They're playing great football, and I would love an Eagles Jaguars Super Bowl just to get that Eagles versus Doug Peterson in the Super Bowl. Um, I would love it. I would love that to be an opportunity. Cincinnati too low, Seattle too high. Cincinnati's creeping up there. Seattle too high. I think you're underestimating Seattle. I think Seattle's considering all things. I mean, they're a sneaky good football team. Where are they 5-2, 5-3? Geno Smith does just enough. Their defense is just good enough. Um, in a division with the 49ers, a division with the Rams, they're doing good. I like it. Um, I like Seattle a little bit more than most people this year. Bengals are my 3. Bills still not top 10 yet, but your power rankings look great. Thank you. You know what tells me that my power rankings are right this week, or at least not offensive this week? I also put them on TikTok, and you can follow me on TikTok also at Beard of Knowledge. When I post the power rankings with a little music in the background, I get so many comments, and I tag every team that's in the power rankings. I had so many comments from fans. Oh, you're wrong. You're an idiot. Why are the Cowboys here? Or why are the 40? Like, I expected 49ers fans to come out of the woodwork. I expected, Cowboys fans, Bengals fans. I expected so many people to come at me, and they do on a regular basis. This week, I had over 1,000 people view it on TikTok, and I did not get one comment, positive or negative. I had like 40 likes on the video or the post, but nobody said you're an idiot. So I think I did a pretty solid job on them this week. I'm going to pull it off the screen just because I can't see everything as well once they're on the screen. Pronounce it like an English spy villain. Jaguar, Jaguars, Jaguars. I don't know. I'm not an English spy villain, so I don't know how to sound like one. I instantly went to James Bond in my mind, and I can't do it. Jets. I thought about putting the Jets in my top 10. I actually really did. And if I had time, I would have put them in. I kind of rushed it, so I didn't put honorable mentions. But I think the Jets are, even with Zach Wilson playing terrible, the Jets are trending in the right direction. Hence no pun intended with trending in the AM. They are. Their defense really is legit. The Jets will go as far as their defense lets them go because we know Zach Wilson isn't doing anything. It's funny because everyone was joking about Aaron Rodgers trying to come back this year from Achilles injury. And would it be fair to the Jets? Would it be fair to bench Zach Wilson in the playoffs if Aaron Rodgers got healthy in the playoffs based off the way he's playing? Yeah. They're only winning games because of their defense. And that's it. We're agreeing with the pronunciation there. Seattle, Jaguars, Ravens, new to game top 10, but don't know where I don't know where they'll be. 49ers are not in my top 10. They don't deserve it with the way they've lost the last couple weeks. So don't know the difference between enunciate and pronunciate. It's another one, that always gets you, right? Drew's saying Seattle's top 5. Drew, I'm glad I'm not the only one that thinks Seattle's a really tough, dangerous team. Are they a Super Bowl worthy team? Yeah, and I don't think anybody's saying that. But I think they're a really good team, and they definitely deserve top 10 consideration. What did I have them at? I don't even remember. 8? I think 7. I got them at 7. You got them at 5. I think it's fair. Anywhere from 5 to 8, I think it's a fair take on them, for sure. You want real clickbait? Put them top 10 and post it. It's not. It is not wrong to me. Look, I don't want clickbait material. Sometimes my opinion just happens to get clickbait-ish, but I always got information to back up why I do things. Good win on the road against the Lions after they beat the Chiefs. Yeah, I'm giving Seattle credit. Seattle's going to win that division maybe even over the 49ers. I mean, there's a chance. 49ers are trending in the wrong direction right now, for sure. It's 9 a.m. here, so let's do a quick hard reset. This is Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. You're watching us live on Facebook, YouTube, wherever it may be. Make sure you hit that like button, that follow button, that subscribe button. We got 14 likes on YouTube, 2 on Facebook, so pound that like button. We're talking Eagles, Dallas. We're talking the NFL trade deadline. We're still dabbling in James Harden talk. Did anybody see? Well, we'll get into that in a second. So whatever you want to talk about it, drop it in the comment section. I greatly appreciate it. I'm your host, Phil Stiefel. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Bearded Knowledge. And right back to the comments. Good morning, Reality Check. It's always a good morning when I see you in the comment section. We're talking everything, so let me know what you got. Irish, the Seahawks did something to bolster too recently. Lockett, DK Metcalf, and great rookie wide receiver, Jackson Naganu or whatever. Geno balling out. Kenneth Walker. I love Kenneth Walker as a running back, man. Chatter. I really do. Um, you have to really know football to get Jets top 10. The normies will see. I don't think they're there yet, though. So that's the thing, man, Chatter. I don't agree that they are yet. I think they're close. They would be if I was doing a full like 32 team NFL power rankings, they'd be 11, 12, somewhere in that range right now. I think they're close. Eagles, a Jags, a Ravens. You got the Seahawks. You got the Ravens 3, Drew. That I strongly disagree with. The Ravens have been really good, but their losses have been so bad that they're just confusing to me. They're top 5, but top 3 is that's tough. Pronounce is how you say the word irrelevant of accents or regional distinction. Enunciate is to make sure that you're saying it clearly and not mumbling and hitting every element of the word. And I am working on that because I do watch back shows. I do. And sometimes I don't watch them back with the video, just the audio. And I was listening to the first 20 minutes of the show yesterday on my drive home from work. And I noticed that I don't enunciate enough on certain words. And sometimes, I don't know if you guys could tell, but without the video and the comments up on the screen, if you're just listening in your car, it's hard to understand exactly what I'm saying sometimes. So I'm working on that. And it's going to be something I work on. I'm going to focus on making sure I slow down some of the things I say, make sure I say your names more often. So if you're just listening without the audio, people know the comments that I'm responding to. Look, it's all year 2. You're 2 years in. Year 3 starting now. It's time for me to get even better at trending in the AM. So we're going to work on that. Um, I consider that my good deed for the day. Thank you. You know, thank you for that. Um, Dang, that hard reset came out of nowhere this morning. I try to do it. I don't know why I even do it. I just try in case somebody's watching or picks it up mid show or pick it up like 20 minutes into the show. I just got to make sure I do it. You know, everybody on every radio show at the top of the hour has to reset. It'd be a good time for me to pay the bills if I had an advertiser or a sponsor. I don't, but it's just me trying to pretend like I actually know what I'm doing on here. Eagles are number 1. That's all I got. Too early for me to just waking up. Brain isn't powered up yet. Yeah, my brain's not powered. I'm exhausted after Halloween. I'm not powered up today. Normally, I get Wednesday night off. It's an early day for me. Not this week because I have all my staff that works for me on Wednesday working with me on Halloween. So extra day of work today. Not looking forward to it. I hope we run the ball more on Sunday with Swift. Well, if Cam Jurgens is back like he's supposed to be, I bet you we see a more distinct difference in the running game, a more effective running game. I don't think there's anything. I don't think there's. I think there's something to it that once Cam Jurgens went down, the running game dropped significantly. Good morning, Eric. Welcome to the show. Eric waits, resets his brain, gets up, and comes right on in here. Red zone issues, Swift. There you go. Yeah, I mean, look, the red zone issues. It's not Swift or Kenneth Gainwell. It's the play call and the personnel usages, and that's what it is. That's the problem. Um, that is where I see the issues. Like the field gets shortened and the defense has some sort of an advantage, but in the Eagles situation, it should. Why go DeAndre Swift all drive long and then switch to Kenneth Gainwell in the red zone? Why run from 3rd and 7 with Kenneth Gainwell in the red zone when you got Julio Jones, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert? Like just the choices being made in the red zone are so questionable. And hell, you can just say Julio Jones and AJ Brown. You got 2 of the biggest targets in the world in the red zone, 2 of the strongest bleepers in the world in the red zone, and you're going to run the ball with Kenneth Gainwell. Which I looked more into what Nick Sirianni said and did or didn't do with Kenneth Gainwell about the DMing fans at halftime, and it really made me think a little bit. Maybe I was too harsh on Kenneth Gainwell being on his phone at halftime. Now, should he be DMing fans and saying mean things to fans at halftime? No. But, Nick Sirianni did say that the players have a few minutes to be on their own at halftime and do whatever they want at halftime to kind of get their mind right or reset or whatever. Now, would I like the the Eagles players not to be DMing people on their phones? Absolutely. Would I like players not to be on their phones at halftime? Absolutely. But if one of my employees takes a break, yeah, they're on their phone. And I don't stop them from doing that. I don't stop them from being on their phone while they're working. In this day and age, it's hard for people to put their phones down. So maybe saying that Kenny Gainwell should have been suspended was a little harsh on my side of the equation. I want them to be more locked in. But if surfing Instagram videos or pictures or whatever, or going through TikTok is what gets their mind 2 minutes of just stop thinking for a second, maybe I'm okay with it. Just saying. Salute to Phil and the Core 12. That's right. That's right. What coach gets fired next, Drew? That's an interesting question because I would have guessed right from the get go that Ron Rivera would have been the first coach. Has Washington had their bye yet? I don't know. Who's on bye next week with the Eagles? Does any of those coaches get fired? Are they any of them bad teams? Ron Rivera in Washington is obviously the first name that comes to mind, Drew. But you got to think that there's other teams with players on the hot seat. Um, Give me a second here. I want to pull up the scores here. Week 10. Who doesn't play in week 10? Does it list here who's on bye? Chiefs, Rams, Dolphins, and Eagles are on bye next week. None of those coaches are getting fired. Who else is on bye this week? Broncos, Lions, Niners, Jags. Are the Broncos going to fire their coach? No. Sean Payton's not getting fired. So none of those coaches are getting fired. Week 11, who's on bye? Week 11, Falcons. I guess they could fire their coach. The Colts aren't going to do anything. I doubt. I know there's rumors that the Pats might move on from Bill Belichick, but they won't do it. Saints aren't going to do it. I don't know. Washington still is the team to me that moves on from their coach first. I'm looking at standings. I thought the Chargers might move on from Staley, but they've won a game. They're still second in their division, so they might not anytime soon. I wonder if Brian Daboll's on the hot seat in New York. I mean, there was a lot of hype, and they're just struggling, and it is his second year. So I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I thought there was a lot of coaches going to get fired, but now I'm seeing things the way the league's shaking out. It really is just Ron Rivera at this point. Maybe in 3 or 4 weeks, some other guys go, but right now, in the next week or two, Ron Rivera is it. K1, my guy. Yeah, everybody loves K1. Your hard reset is like a palate cleanser and gives you time to switch gears. Exactly, it does. And you see it on the radio all the time. Resets at the top of the hour. I just preparing myself for that moment when I get a sponsor that I have to run an ad at the reset time at the top of the hour someday. I like the reset. It also lets you know it's 9 o'clock. It lets you know that now it's 9:09, the final 21 minutes of the show. It lets you know that there's 30 minutes left. So you better get those comments in as the show starts to we build up to 9 o'clock, and then at 9 o'clock it starts to slow down. Howie and Harris are best GMs in Philly. Um, Harris, Josh Harris is a GM now. He's just the owner. There's something I wanted to get into. Daryl Morey and, and Howie Roseman. So, I criticized Daryl Morey a lot yesterday with this whole James Harden situation. And, I spent a lot of time talking about how Daryl Morey did well. It turns out Josh Harris did well and finally moving on from James Harden. But all Daryl Morey did was fix his mistakes. And so not only did I talk about it, but I tweeted a lot about it yesterday as well. And a lot of people came at me. Mark Mascatelli, who's been on the show before. It's like, well, Howie Roseman gets all this time to fix his mistakes and doesn't get criticized for some of his mistakes and how he had to fix them. And I had an instant answer. that Howie Roseman gets the benefit of the doubt to fix his mistakes over Daryl Morey because Howie Roseman's won a Super Bowl now as a general manager. He's taken the team to 2 Super Bowls in the last 6 years. He gets the benefit of the doubt. Daryl Morey does not get the benefit of the doubt that Howie Roseman does because what has Daryl Morey ever won? Not just in Philly, anywhere. Nothing. All he's done is trade for James Harden twice in his career as a GM. And so anybody that wants to criticize me for saying that I'm too harsh on Daryl Morey and not harsh enough on Howie Roseman or vice versa, Howie Roseman's got the track record now. So he gets the benefit of the doubt for as long as he needs to now. And I wanted to make sure I put that out there. And I want to know if you guys agree with that Howie Roseman gets the benefit of the doubt because he has won a Super Bowl and then taken another team to a Super Bowl. First time in 10 years where kids actually came to the door and we don't have any candy left. Yay. That's cool. Yeah, I love seeing all the pictures of, you know, I don't have kids, but friends, family that post pictures of their kids and their Halloween stash on social media. And every year, one person posted their picture and in their Halloween stash, their bags of chips and Cheetos and a bottle of water. Who hands out bottles of water to kids trick or treating? That's like the ultimate, like, shit, I'm out of candy, or I forgot it was Halloween. Let me go open my fridge and see what I can pull out. Oh, we'll pull out a bottle of water. You always got somebody that puts fruit in there, whatever. But who puts bottle of water in kids' candy bags? Like, seriously, it's Halloween. Give out candy or close your doors. Who gives a blank if you say Jaguars right? We live in a world where people text with stupid language and making up new words every day, and people are worried if you say Jaguar right. It was just funny. We were just goofing around with it. I'm glad they stepped in. Morey would have ended up trading James for 2 boxes of crumble cookies. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I think he would have held out firm or ended up with this anyway. The league stepped in because they just didn't want the distraction. And it just seems like again, and Keith caught me and said, yes, they stepped in on the Chris Paul Lakers thing, which I didn't think they should have done that. 2 teams want to make a trade, and it follows the rules, the guidelines in the CBA. Let them do it. The NBA just loves to finagle in Philly Sixers business all the time. This is why you need a big back for those hard to get 5 yards to goal. The goal line situation. Yeah, that's what you got Rashad Penny for. And I think that everyone's like, well, Howie didn't make any trades yesterday. Breaking news, he did make a trade. He traded for Kevin Byard. But it doesn't mean Howie Roseman's done. There's going to be players cut now. There's going to be players that are put on waivers now. Howie Roseman's there's free agents available out there that could be signed off their couches, just like last year with Linville Joseph and Dominic Sue. So I'm not assuming that this Eagles roster is complete as is. So there's more to there could be more coming. No phone during NFL. One warning first. Look, I'm kind of over it now. I kind of feel like I might have been wrong. Commies have a late bye. Yeah, I just went through week 11 and they weren't on bye. So that might be bye week's just a perfect time to switch quarterbacks. If you're going to bench your veteran and go to a rookie quarterback, and bye week's the perfect week to make a coaching change. So that's what I always look at for those things. So if it's a late bye, maybe they keep them for a while. I don't know. Breaking news: Phil will be making the play calls Sunday. I would love it, man. I would love to call plays, even just for one drive in the NFL. I would just call the tush push, 10 plays in a row, and see if that gets you a score. It all starts in practice. Whoever performs the best in practice during the red zone drills, the coaches will get the nod in the game. That's why Gainwell's out there. So if you practice well, you get the shot. But if you fail with your shot and practice well the next week, you get another shot. Just think about it, because he's gotten the shot all year long. So just because he's practiced well all year, but failed all year long in the real game situations, he still gets the chance. Just think about that. So Rivera being canned gets Bieniemy his coaching gig. Yeah, I would have surprised he didn't get it sooner this year. I thought Rivera would have been fired 2-3 weeks into the season. But they played well, so that's why they did. Because I think Bieniemy needed that interim role for 5, 6, 7 weeks to prove what he's capable of. show some fight. I think Bieniemy's probably the guy going forward even next year for Washington. But since they fired their GM and stuff like that as well, or if they fire their GM, maybe the GM wants to bring in their own guy. I don't know how that's going to all shake out. But I'm surprised, and I'm assuming that that's going to be the only real threat of a firing anytime soon in the NFL. Gainwell needs to focus more on his football before he finds himself on a different team. Gainwell hasn't done anything or even close to enough to talk shit. Yeah. But you know what? Also, on the flip side of it, why are fans DMing players? We've talked about this in the past on previous networks and the bullying of Jalen Reagor and the things that fans get on their keyboards and say things to players and entertainers and social people with no fear in the world because you're not going to say that to Kenny Gainwell's face. You're not going to call these players bums to their faces, but you get behind your keyboard, you call keyboard warriors, and they say anything. So maybe also the fans are a little bit to blame here. They feel like they could say and do whatever they want with no repercussions. Sometimes players, Kenny Gainwell was having a bad game. He saw his DM, saw an awful comment, and overreacted to it without a doubt. And he shouldn't have been on his phone and doing that in the first place, of course. But what's the fans doing that for? Fans are doing that to egg players on, hoping for a reaction. Fans got the reaction they wanted. That fan is now a more famous person than he was before. That's the problem too. Is there's the fans are allowed to say whatever they want behind a keyboard. If Bieniemy is the heir apparent, why not get the ball rolling already? Yeah, exactly. I mean, because it's Washington. Whatever. Josh Harris was too busy yesterday getting the Daryl Morey, James Harden situation situated. Now that that's over with, he won't care about basketball for a few weeks. What about Joel Embiid getting fined $35,000 for the DX? You know what? Chop $35,000. Come on. There's more important things to be doing in the NBA than worrying about celebrating the DX chop. People have been doing the DX chop for 25 years now. Triple H already tweeted out to Joel, and Joel already responded. He should be doing it at WrestleMania 40 in Philly, but I guess the Sixers will be on the road because he already responded. I won't be in town that day. I'm surprised someone didn't take that and read into it too much and say that he's wanting out of Philly or something for that. But the Sixers are just on the road. Oh, Drew, I agree. Bills coach Sean McDermott is on the hot seat, but they're not going to fire him mid-season. He is definitely on the hot seat after the season. If I don't even think it's just make the playoffs. I think the Bills need to get to the AFC Championship game again at a minimum. If they don't get to the championship game, Sean McDermott's fired in Buffalo. They're going to say that that's going to be what's needed to change to maximize Josh Allen and stuff like that. Sean McDermott should be on the hot seat. Of course. I respect Brand's home run swing. He got us Jimmy Butler. I miss you, Jimmy. I do. I do. Guessing or giving Jones that contract was a huge mistake. They should have just brought in a young gun or a proper bridge vet for less money. Daniel Jones? Is that what you're talking about? I think. I don't know how we got onto that. McDaniels, shaking my head, go back to Boston. Yeah, McDaniels will land as an offensive coordinator somewhere eventually. Yeah, but I've been saying this for a while, man, Chatter. He's got to be on the hot seat. Do you think the New York Giants go after Fields in the offseason since I don't think Chicago will extend him? I mean, I don't know how they do it, Duck. They just gave all this money, and they can't get out of Daniel Jones' contract just yet unless there's a huge cap hit or a trade or something like that. I don't think Justin Fields is all that either. Now, he's in a bad situation, a bad organization in Chicago. Chicago has no clue what they're doing. They're putting players for sale, but bringing players in as well. Like, I don't know. I don't know what happens in Chicago. They might be a team that resets again. Like, the Raiders have fired how many coaches over the last – I think I saw they've had 13 head coaches in the last 20 years, the Raiders. The Bears move through coaches a lot as well. It just goes to make you feel how lucky we are that we have such a secure organization with such a singular vision that even when we make changes, it's not quick. They took their time hiring the right guy in Nick Sirianni. They took their time in hiring the right guy in Doug Peterson. Like, we're not Pittsburgh, where they have had 4 head coaches in 70 years, but we went from Andy Reid for dozen plus years, 5 plus years of Doug Peterson. Now Nick Sirianni's gonna be the guy here for the next 5, 10 years, hopefully. You know, Howie Roseman has stayed constant through it all. Jeffrey Lurie has given him the opportunity to make mistakes, learn from them, and rebound from them. It's so interesting. Coach of the year fitted. Who's the coach of the year? I don't even know. Fixed. I don't know. All right. Um, I'm under the impression that Jimmy was always going to the Heat. That was the whole point of D Wade going to the Bulls to lure Jimmy to the Heat. A lot of people want to go to the Heat. Who doesn't want to be in South Beach? The tax situation there as well. Um, South Beach is a great place to be an athlete in any sport. Um, they spend less on Jones and they could spend some money on that O line. Yeah, exactly. They should have just stuck. Look, Tyree Taylor is better than Daniel Jones. Hell, the rookie that came in when Tyree Taylor got hurt is better than Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is, I wanted to say coming in this year was an okay quarterback, but he's just not. He's just so bad. But it's also part of the organization with bad drafting, bad free agent signs, not protecting him at the offensive line, not getting him real weapons. There's a lot that goes into it that Daniel Jones stinks. Howie also took a ton of crap for the Kelly years. He did. He did. And that's where that whole, we give him the benefit of the doubt, but we don't give Daryl Morey, or I don't give Daryl Morey. But eventually, Howie did get that championship eventually. So you kind of got to give him the benefit of the doubt. So, there's that. Howie has also been with the team since forever. He's got equity with Laurie. Yeah, like Howie Roseman's like Jeffrey Lurie's son that he never had, even though he had a son. Just kidding. Um, they're tied up. He's going to continue to give him, and it's keeping that singular vision. Him and Laurie know what the goal is, and they're on that same page. Always, always. Bottle of what? The Giants' issue is Mara. DJ wanted a contract this past offseason. When he didn't get one, DJ went straight to Mara, and a few days later, DJ was 160 more. Yeah, I love that Jeffrey Lurie stays out of the business for the most part. He puts his 2 cents in here and there, but that's it. What's this rumor going around about Harris? Josh Harris. There's some rumors floating around. It's not been, yes, this happened, but some big wigs around the NBA have said, like big time reporters, like the Woj types, that the NBA called Josh Harris and Morrow, or whatever the guy's name is that owns the Clippers, Ballamore, and said, yo, is this going to seriously potentially happen? And he spoke with the owners and said, get the deal done if it is. So Josh Harris made the deal with the Clippers to trade James Harden yesterday, or the Sunday night, not Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey was supposedly against this trade going down when it did. So that there's something to that. And if that happened, I wouldn't be surprised if Daryl Morey's gone eventually here. Why would Howie trade for cornerback Johnson from Chicago when he could just go out this offseason, get him? I understand why Howie wouldn't give a pick or two up when he will be available in 6 months. Yeah, the trade deadline was a lot more quiet because a lot of teams, there was a lot of big name players that were available, but there were a lot of them that were young. And it's so hard to trade a young player that's a stud at their position, Johnson, Sertan. Um, it's hard because the value of those guys is still so high. It's not like trading for a veteran presence at the end of their career or whatnot. You know, it would have cost a lot to get them. And our defense, I mean, we criticize this defense a lot of the Eagles, but they've actually performed pretty darn well this year. Let me wrap up some comments here because we're coming to the final five here. Maybe they're waiting for Michigan to fire Harbaugh. Who, Washington? Oh, jeez. Reality bringing it. I love it. The reality check always brings it. They got millions. Fans don't get the money. That fans sound off. That's fine. There's no excuse, Phil. These dudes are idols and celebrities. You must be able to carry yourself differently than everyone else. You got to have tough skin. If you don't, maybe football. I get it. You're talking about the Kenneth Gainwell situation. I get it. But sometimes fans take it way too far. And I don't think that I'm going to say that it's time for fans to realize they just can't say anything. They can't. You know, they wouldn't say that to them in person. I just picked up Arizona back tight end and Zach Carradine for the Seahawks. I hope they kick butt for me. You picked them up, so you'll probably lose, and you'll lose by like half a point from them. Bonus respect for doing DX. Yeah, I'm so over the DX chops. I am. Um, TMC, what is good? My fantasy season has been frustrating. If not for AJ Brown, I'd probably be 0-8. Raiders and Bears are just bad offices, ownerships, everything. Bayard will haunt Prescott Sunday. I hope so. Um, how much is Daniel Jones' 120 million contract is guaranteed? A lot of it, but I think there's an out with dead cap hit after next year. 35-24 Eagles, my early prediction. We'll see. It's a 3-point game right now, line wise. Over unders at like 46, I think. So you're taking the points and the over with your early prediction. Bottles of water, chat, listen. Go Eagles 31-14. That's a bold prediction from one Michael L Hood 745. Make sure you hit the like button. Thank you for your prediction. Phil said Coach of the Year Dabble last year on the hot seat. Yeah, it's true. It's possible. Who's going to the game? Is anybody going to the game on Sunday? I'd love to hear from you. Drew saying 34-20. We don't do predictions till a lot of predictions rolling in. We wait till Friday for the predictions. But I love the early predictions. K1 not going. Where are you sitting? Nobody. I'm not going. Oh, Drew is going. I'm going 34-20. Um, love that, Drew. K, damn. Yeah. NFL reality check. I agree. We will be out of the Bradbury and Slate contract and we'll have room for 18. We're going to be out. They signed multi-year deals. I don't know. Maybe we can get out of them quicker. I don't know. Crazy Eagles fan. We beat up Dallas fans. I love crazy. Dallas week is always crazy. Love it. Trying to catch up here because we're about out of time. The NBA needs their best players to play for the ratings. LA's huge television. Did you see the James Harden walking into the locker room for the first time in LA, and there's Russell Westbrook, and I said that. How are Russell Westbrook and James Harden going to get along? And there was just this look of, oh, I got to go shake this dude's hand. Like that's not going to go well. Lincoln Financial has a jail. Man, I love it. I love it. Duck, yes. If I was in their situation, I would not read X. Yeah, I wouldn't read social media. Period. I would if I was an athlete making millions of dollars, I would just turn social media off. I see Gainwell going the way of Aguilar and Rager if he keeps up this social media. Yeah. But again, fans gotta respect them too. We don't beat the Dallas by more than one score. I agree, Doc. I'm not ready to make. I don't even have ideas of where I'm going with this. I had to wait till the trade deadline, then I'd get through Halloween. I can start thinking about predictions tomorrow. We'll see. Lincoln Financial doesn't have a jail. That was Veteran Stadium. Yeah, exactly. I thought so. I'm sure they got something though. Eagles 33-27. That's more realistic, Eric. But yeah, brawl in the stadium. Let's go. No fights. I don't justify fighting. I'm trying to fix the Philadelphia fan image, not continue it. Let's brawl Dallas fans out the stadium. And there's going to be lots of Dallas fans because there's a lot of Dallas fans all over. They don't travel well. They just infiltrate cities very well. All right, it's 9:30. Show's over, guys. Another fun-filled, packed episode of Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We crazy. I'm crazy for getting up and talking to you boys and girls every single morning. Um, every morning here, 8 a.m. in the morning. I love a dominant showing, but I got a feeling it's going to be a close game. Yeah. If we can't blow out the Washington Commanders, we're not blowing out the Dallas Cowboys. I agree. Slay and Bradbury released and traded Rodgers will become the number one. People forget we got Isaiah Rodgers. I don't know if we're going to release those two guys. I don't know what the cap hits would be reality. Check. I would have to look into that. Eli Ricks has looked good in the slot, too. And Maddox might be the one that's gone, not Slay or Bradbury. But it's time to start looking into the future for those positions. I need some Ike juice. I love it. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Training the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. Thank you very much, as always, to everybody. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, that follow button. Hell, turn the notifications on because you won't miss a minute of it when we go live if we do that. Thank you, Will, tuning in as always in the background. Everybody have a great day, a great Wednesday. It's going to be cold in the Delaware Valley today. I turned my heater on this morning at the house. So everybody have a great day. As always, as we end every show, and especially on Dallas Week, right here, like Duck says, go Birds. Have a great day, guys.